if I had unlimited money, I could probably hire an assassin or someone.
Never catch vibes with an enemy, that's my pedigree. If I see you move, then I want you to move with energy. Come and do your thing right next to me. Come and show me something that I've never seen.
Cool. So, hi Ali, thanks so much for coming on the Average Blokes show. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, it's called the Average Blokes. Oh,
yeah.
Nice. Good name.
So we're just kind of chatting to a few people that have had something to do with Oxford or Cambridge to kind of get their opinions on it, show how there's quite a diverse range of different people who go there or have been there.
So as the name suggests, Average Blokes, it's to kind of show that the stereotype of Oxbridge students being boring and just workaholics and not really having much outside life is not entirely true, and that people can go to Oxford that are considered average in society but also have interests and things that they do outside of it. And we thought you'd be a good person to have on because of what you do, both as a career and also with the YouTube side, and someone that'd be able to show people that interesting people do go to Oxbridge. So to start, would you like to tell us a bit about yourself and who you are for our viewers?
So my name is Ali. I'm a junior doctor, so I'm in my second year of being a doctor, and I work kind of near Cambridge. And yeah, so I was a med student at Cambridge from 2012 to 2018, and now I've been a doctor for 2 years. So that's kind of the day job. And then on the side, I have a YouTube channel and a podcast, and sort of just keep myself occupied by trying to kind of run those and keep them ticking along.
Great, thanks a lot. So as a kind of format for some of our videos, we do like a quick fire questions where we put a minute on the clock and we just go through some like this or that type questions. So if you're happy to do one of them.
Yeah, by all means, let's go.
Some really thought-provoking questions in there.
Okay, right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Vlog or blog?
Vlog.
McDonald's or KFC?
Oh, McDonald's.
Favourite movie?
The Dark Knight.
If you were an animal, which animal would you be?
Probably a squirrel.
Cool. Dark or milk chocolate?
Oh, milk, 100%.
Good answer. Apple or Android?
Apple, 100%.
Favourite YouTuber?
Peter McKinnon.
Not us. Cat or dog?
Dog.
Night out or Netflix?
Netflix, definitely.
And then lastly, Cam or Josh?
Cam, because it's Cambridge, right?
Oh, nice. Smooth
Nice.
answer. 10 seconds to spare as well. Awesome.
Cool.
Peter McKinnon, great shout for YouTuber as well.
Yeah,
That bit of a legend.
When I started my channel, my sort of aim was I want to be the Peter McKinnon of like studying, or the Peter McKinnon of medicine,
Nice.
or the Peter McKinnon of whatever. I decided
Just anything Peter McKinnon based.
Yeah, basically, Peter McKinnon of life. That would have been good.
Yeah. Sweet. Thanks for doing that. I think we're going to launch into some kind of Oxbridge related questions now. Okay, so first question. A stereotype at elite universities exists of potentially being a bit boring and only worried about their grades. What are your thoughts on this, and have you kind of experienced that at all?
I guess when I was applying, kind of, it was just like the whole prestige and the whole vibe of Oxford and Cambridge just like overwrote absolutely everything else. And so as a sort of somewhat boring nerd in school, I was like absolutely not concerned that, the environment wouldn't be interesting or sort of dynamic enough for me. But actually one of the things that I really appreciated kind of while here is that everyone seems to be sort of weird in their own way. Like everyone has stuff that they are kind of super passionate about, which sounds like a little bit cringe to say because it's the sort of thing people always say about this sort of stuff, and you're always like, okay, mate, fine. But it seems like kind of weirdness in all of its forms is relatively celebrated. And so sort of as someone who wasn't particularly into sort of traditional sports or drinking and stuff, one of my concerns is that maybe I wouldn't fit in, but actually I've found people who are quite, keen to play Yu-Gi-Oh cards, or, ethnic societies like the Pakistan Society, which sort of, took me in nicely. So I think there really is something for everyone. And I've got my mate in the background who was very much the sports and drinking chap, and he sort of fitted in equally well. So
Yeah.
And more of a general question, what do you think is the biggest reason that people might not necessarily apply to Oxford and Cambridge, though they might have the grades and the potential to be at the university?
Yeah, so the thing I've heard most often from people who do have the grades is, I don't think it would be for me. And often the reason they say I don't think it would be for me is because of the whole sort of posh private school vibe, especially for sort of friends of mine who are from kind of state school backgrounds or sort of ethnic minorities. That is sort of actively something that stops them from applying. And I always try and challenge it whenever I hear it. I'm like, oh, come on, man.
What would you advise to them in terms of their way of thinking about Oxford and Cambridge?
I try and kind of bust the myth as much as I can, like depending on who I'm speaking to. Sort of a big draw for me when I was applying and kind of in the early days was things like the Islamic Society and the Pakistan Society and sort of these other ways of hanging out with brown people, essentially. The other thing that I use as my selling point for Oxbridge is just that the college system is just so good. It's like if you go to any other university, you are surrounded by 600 medical students and like, okay, there's this sort of monolith and you make friends with people in your flat who are maybe like 4 people. But because you're in this college system, it's sort of like the houses in Harry Potter where most of your friends end up being from your same college and, you know, you're going to go to lectures with everyone in the year group, but you'll end up developing these close associations by default with people in your college. And it's just such a different social vibe. And actually, like, people might have the misconception that universities like Oxford and Cambridge are not very social because people are massive nerds. But I think because of the college system and because everything is so packed together, it makes it more of a social vibe.
Definitely think that it's much more sociable than everyone thinks.
Right, another quite general question. What is the common question that you get about misconceptions at Oxbridge? Is there one that stands out?
So apart from the whole, this is for posh white people misconception, there is definitely a general vibe that the workload is really hard with a big R and a big H. Yeah. And yeah, it's hard, but I think kind of Oxford students like to propagate this myth that we have it so much harder than other universities, when that's probably not true. Like in terms of contact hours, like my friends who are medical students in London and other places had more lectures. They had like lectures 9 till 5. Whereas for us, we had like 2 lectures a day max and maybe 1 practical a day. So it just gave us a lot of free time to do your own thing. Equally, our holidays are so much longer than everyone else's. And so it means that, yeah, the workload is kind of intense for those 8-week terms, but you do have plenty of time to catch up if you need it.
Okay, so besides being a YouTuber, what are your other hobbies? And did you find time to pursue them whilst you're at uni? Because I think some people have the idea that being at one of the top universities, you don't have any time to do extracurricular activities.
Yeah, that's another one of those myths. There's like loads of time. You can kind of do whatever you want with that time. You have so much free time as a secondary school student and as a university student, especially in the holidays. So at university, I learnt piano and guitar and tried to improve my singing. I'd been always dabbling with singing when I was younger, but I joined an a cappella group and sort of taught myself chords and stuff with the piano and guitar and started singing at like events and things. I also was quite into close-up magic in the early days, and so I'd perform at the May balls and do like walk around close-up magic card tricks and things like that, just to add further to the nerd reputation. So I think, you know, there's more than enough time for stuff. Having said that, I didn't really do anything at a very high level. I think if I was like, you know, blues rugby team or something, that would have severely limited my actual free time to do other things. Yeah. But, you know, it's like if you want to do a lot of things at a fairly mediocre level, which is what I was doing, then it's very, very doable. Or if you want to do one or two things at a very high level, that's also very doable. I
agree, and I think that the kind of college system is a big factor in that, because you can do like lower level college sports quite easily, and it doesn't take up much of the time.
Right then, a bit of a sillier question, but we were watching a few of your productivity videos, and we noticed that you were mentioning Tinder quite often. So I was wondering if being a YouTuber had helped your love life, and how, if so.
I feel like it must do, because like it's an inherently like interesting thing, and from what I've heard on the grapevine, you know, if you're famous in some capacity, then you know that's another domain for someone to be more attracted to you, in theory. Also, I've heard. In real life, I don't think it's really materialized that much for me. I sort of feel that I'm at a point in my life where I'm not seriously looking for a proper relationship. Like if the right person just sort of stumbled into my lap, I wouldn't say no. You know. And yeah, I will update you guys as soon as it does. Right,
a little follow up to that. Can you give us your best chat up line or your best opener?
Oh God, what's my best chat up line? I think just like, hey, how's it going? which is probably a really bad chat outline. So if I'm actually trying to get a date on Tinder or Bumble or Hinge or whatever, I will comment something about their profile and try and make a joke out of it or try and ask a question, just the standard affair. Because I absolutely hate it when someone messages me being like, "Hi, how are you?" I'm like, "Oh God, that puts so much of the onus on me to respond." Yeah. If I'm serious about getting a date, I'll try and put some thought into the opener rather than, sort of use a stock chat upline, as it were.
There's some top tips for anyone who is feeling like they're going to pop up to you anytime soon. There you go.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Out of curiosity, does your Tinder profile, in terms of like occupation or whatever, would it say YouTuber first or junior doctor?
I think it says junior doctor, but I've got a friend who says that I should change it to say YouTuber first because he feels it's inherently more interesting than being a doctor. But yeah, I don't know. I am more than open to getting guidance on this front.
Let us know in the comments whether you'd want to see junior doctor or YouTuber first in Ali's profile.
Ooh, controversial.
Yeah, so this is more about the junior doctor side of things. And we were wondering, what is the weirdest question that you've been asked as a doctor?
Probably the weirdest encounters are when I meet patients who recognize me from YouTube. That's always kind of fun.
Not from Tinder or Bumble.
Unfortunately not those. I wish. There was one occasion where I was with one of the senior doctors on our surgery placement last year. And we have these different wards, and you have like a handful of patients in each bay, and you sort of open the curtains and you talk to the patient, and then you draw the curtains. And so we walked into this bay. This dude had some sort of problem with his pancreas, and we were like, "Hi, we're the general surgery team." And he looked up from his phone. He was like, "Oh my God, Ali, I was just watching your videos. What the hell are you doing here?" And his girlfriend was like sitting next to him, absolutely creasing herself, because she was like, "Yeah, he's been talking about your videos for the last like 2 weeks. He discovered you like 2 weeks ago." And the senior doctor who I was with, the surgeon, didn't know that. She knew that I had a YouTube channel, but she didn't know that it was like, famous in inverted commas. And so she was absolutely loving that. She was just like, "What the hell is going on?" And then she went around telling all the consultants that, have you seen this guy's famous? Which, it was just kind of quite nice. But that's probably sort of the strangest things that I get.
Next question then. How do you balance your workload between having a very successful YouTube channel, different businesses, and being a junior doctor?
Yeah, so the balancing question is interesting. I think the main thing is that like everything I do is just really fun. And so for me, like, it's not a case of I get home and I need to wind down by watching Netflix. It's a case I get home and I'm like, all right, cool, I'm excited to make this next YouTube video. And that sort of excitement is generally what kind of propels me through it. It's never really a struggle to kind of do all of the things just because they're fun and sort of inherently motivating.
What is more enjoyable to you in general, being a doctor or being a YouTuber?
Oh, being a YouTuber, hands down.
Really?
Yeah, being a doctor is kind of fun. Basically, my theory is that nothing is fun as a full-time job. Because the thing can be fun, but as soon as it becomes a full-time job, you have all the baggage associated with the fact that it's a full-time job, i.e. you have to go into work every day, even if you don't feel like it. You have to negotiate leave with your rota coordinator. You can't have time off when you want it. And, I guess that's a part of growing up and a part of being an adult, but I strongly reject the notion that that is how life has to be. And so, yeah, I think being a doctor, like part-time, would be quite fun, like 2 or 3 days a week. That's sort of my long-term plan. Emergency medicine, 2 or 3 days a week. I think that would be a good lifestyle. I'm not a fan of the full-time gig.
Great.
Cool. Right, so we also noticed that you make a lot of videos on sort of helping people through applications to Oxbridge and the sort of things that they should be looking for. So one thing we did was search the internet for the weirdest questions we could find from Oxbridge interviews, and we just want to see how you'd approach the question, what sort of answer you'd give, or what sort of things you'd be thinking about.
So how would you poison someone without the police finding out?
So I think I could prevent the police from finding out that it were me who did the poisoning by having enough layers, by having myself far enough removed from the actual poisoning. So for example, if I had unlimited money, I could probably hire an assassin or someone to slip the poison into someone's drink. Could probably bribe, someone, if it's a professor working in a college or something, bribe someone in the catering department, potentially, have someone else threaten their families as a way of kind of removing myself from the poisoning process as much as possible. I suppose if I were thinking about how I might prevent the police from finding out it was an actual poisoning, that would probably involve finding a friend who knows enough about sort of chemicals and stuff as to sort of how can you feasibly poison someone without there being significant trace of it left behind. One thing that comes to mind is sort of injecting potassium into them, but it's quite hard to sort of get intravenous access to someone to inject potassium into them.
Right, so you've had tips from Ali on how to navigate your Tinder profiles, and now we've had tips for poisoning people.
For the record, I'm not very good on Tinder, and I'm also not very good at poisoning people, so take it with a grain of salt.
Awesome. Well, I think that brings our questions to a close and a nice ending there. But thanks so much for chatting to us. It's been a real pleasure, and I've certainly learned a lot, even though it's been kind of half an hour of chatting to you. So yeah, a massive thanks for coming on the Average Blokes show.
Cool, thanks for having me. It's nice to be part of the Average Blokes crew.
With an enemy, that's my pedigree. If I see you move, then I want you to move with energy. Come and do your thing right next to me. Come and show me something that I've never seen. Yeah, like put all your faith in me, cause I'm feeling kinda vibrant. I wanna vibe with you. Step into my walk cause I'm inviting you. Let me see the